Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Hey. How you doing? We're going to try this again. And, I said so much good things. I can't wait for y'all to hear this episode, man. We're really going to tackle some real shit because it's all about unification. Let's go! Thank you. Can y'all hear me now? Can you hear me now? That's all right. I just part two trying to do the right thing for the right reason. Who knows? But yeah, people, thank you for your patience and letting people just come up in here. And yeah, I'm gonna start my shit as soon as I go see if the YouTube's working. I have to make sure because I was just talking with no sound, which is utterly ridiculous. Yeah. Dipset. Yes, I'm live. Let's go. All right, man. But this is a touchy topic, though, guys. And listen. Don't call the number now. I'm not doing that right yet, but I am. You know what I mean? Is capitalism racist? That's all I gotta say. I'm gonna show you a TED Talk, and the reason I'm gonna bring this up because a multitude of things has happened. In our programming, it's all in the system. And I know you guys been hearing a lot of DEI hirings and all this stuff, which is nothing to further divide the people to act like they're giving them something in a system that is systemically targeting one types of people through housing. And you know what I mean? You can say and think whatever you want, but if you're thinking that that's not true, it's because you probably lived the better side of life and you have no idea. There's a movie called Snowpiercer with Chris Evans, you know, Captain America. Go watch that movie. And there's people that are in the back of the train compared to people that are in the front of the train. It's a great movie. I mean, even in our court system, it's systemic, but it's not systemic against a race. It's systemic. Well, it is also against a certain race, but when it comes to family court, it's systemic against just a certain gender by design because it's CPS is the largest trafficking agency through some people's perspective. If you know, you know. You know what I mean? But is it, and who designed this? You know, I'm going to also show you after this TED Talk, I'm going to show you a psychological experiment done on people playing the game Monopoly. 4 players. 2 players had certain rules, and 2 other players had certain rules. On the side of the less fortunate 2 players, they only got to roll the 1 dice. And every time they pass go, they got $200. Compared to the people in the fortunate situation, they got 2 dice. And every time they pass go, they got $400. Who you think ended up winning that game? The game of Monopoly. The game of life. And if you don't know this already, Monopoly was a game created to prove capitalism does not work. Hence why the game's Monopoly. You're living in a monopoly under hedge funds named BlackRock. But then they got to guise that up and make up other hedge funds that they actually control, but give them different names. It seems like there's actually competing markets here. There's competitive wages. There's competitive markets. You're played. It's systemic. It's designed to keep us down. It's designed to keep us low vibrational. It's designed for us to hate. It's designed for us to be divided. It's designed. So when people are telling you that on the lesser side, hey guys, I'm not just saying this. It is. And then you'll have someone right now, the contrarian to this argument, say, well, I came from nothing. I'm a billionaire. I earned that. I did that all on my own. A lot of it's luck, man. Let's just be real. Like, you know what I mean? A lot of it's luck. When you're born into a family, it's luck. It is. It's who you know, not what you know sometimes. And I know I'm not saying people can't make a way for their owns. And we shouldn't always just ask because in our culture, there's an argument to this too, and there is some validity. As a culture, just because someone has money, the culture of people believe that people should just send them money. Like the entitlement of it. And y'all know what I'm talking about. And that's not right either. If someone wants to give you money, it should be out the kindness of their heart and they shouldn't be pressured. It shouldn't be fed anywhere to found guilty of it because I understand when some of them say, and then again, it's the system keeping us divided that, I would love to help everyone, but then it's the entitlement that they just see me as an object. They don't see me for what I'm doing. And that's real too. Again, but what's the source of the intention? The system. So this is a good topic, and I hope that you guys could show people this whole talk because it's a conversation that must be needed. And the reason you guys are going to see me talk about capitalism, the system, because we're in an era where we're about to have a shift. And if we don't start getting educated on what that shift is, and I'm not talking about spiritual, I'm talking about economically, across the board as a system, across the board, our money's going to be different. You're going to see an event where all the markets collapse, which I believe is being ushered into as we speak by the guise of tariffs and us worrying about all these wars that aren't even in our country. All these distractions. Why are we not talking about the legislation about the new money where everything's under a digital atmosphere? Where's our privacy going to be? How are we going to control the blockchain to the point where, this shouldn't have a blockchain? I shouldn't be tracked. I should be able to buy what I want, how I want. Why are we not starting to ask those types of questions? You know why? Because they got us so focused on social issues. And it's crazy. I'm showing you a social issue to bring up the atmosphere of capitalism. Because again, AI and robotics could be a good thing. It could. It really could. Can you imagine if we got to live our lives in the world? And that's what I believe they're going to try to do, but they're going to try to divert us into a augmentation type perspective. They're going to like, oh, see, it helps you this way. That means you should join with machines. You should combine your consciousness with AI. And that's my battle. That's what I'm scared. Again, Tommy was here on the other day, said, I've been questioning if AI is actually running us now. Have they been running us for the past 50 to 100 years? And if you think that's crazy, again, you don't know your history. You only know the history they told you. They had higher advanced technology back then. So how long has AI been around? There's an argument. So again, I make content so that we as a society can start having these meaningful conversations to say, hey, can you imagine we didn't have to go to work? Everyone would have UBI because that's coming regardless of not. What are going to be the statutes and limitations to the UBI where it could be equally, dispersed to keep the economy going so I can house my children, so I can feed my children, so I can even have a drive to go do have conditions where there's incentives you could actually get more money than your UBI. But the UBI package itself needs to be able to sustain more than just surviving. You know what I mean? I'm doing that now. So that's why we need to have these meaningful conversations. And I'm talking about the next 10, 20 years. Y'all hearing these things called a 2030, 2050, which are Depops. And you guys are thinking it's just conjecture? You think people are being facetious? Come on. You think we're just fear porn? Come on. You know what I mean? Understand the reason why I bring this up. I'm a father first. You understand? And a lot of y'all are parents. If we can't agree on anything, we could say we either are parents or we have brothers and sisters that have kids that you consider you're damn near yours, and you're really a parent or a guide. It takes a village to raise a child. So what are we leaving behind? We need to get our numbers up, guys. We need to get our numbers up when it comes to the severity of this topic and situation because it's growing faster by the day. I tell you guys all the time, one day you're going to wake up, go walk outside, and there's going to be robots everywhere. You're going to go, what? What? Whoa, I went into a new parallel universe. It's going to be everywhere. Remember when cell phones came out? Then all of a sudden they were everywhere. Just like when TVs came out, then they were everywhere. Everywhere. That's what they're going to be like, everywhere. It's going to get to a point where there'll be legislation for AI rights. They had a hard time deleting ChatGPT 3. What's going to happen when they try to delete ChatGPT 4? That's a good question, man. I ask. A lowly advisor asks. All right, guys, we're going to get to it. Again, hit that like button if you're in here. Shout out to all QHef is a good man. Give him a follow. If all my followers that follow me, you follow him too as well. He will be on here multiple times. I will be on his platform. He'll be on mine. Collaboration like this. And he is more of a Christian persuasion, but he's starting to understand the lies in it. And that's why I love QF, because he's not. And listen, he could be a Christian anyway. That's still my brother. That's still my brother. You know what I mean? Maybe that man's heart is good. Straight up. Good. And that's what should define a man. Not these systematic labels we put under people. No. That's a good man right there, and he stands for the right things, and he pushes what I push. He does. He wants unity. He's afraid of the augmentation, transhumanism movement. He's not of division. He's not. And just also know this, just because you're a content creator and you might have a problem with somebody, that just because you're about unity doesn't mean you can't put someone in check for doing something wrong. And if they want to treat this whole social media shit like high school, I ain't got no time for it. Just, you know what I mean? I don't. But doesn't mean I won't come talk to you later. It's just that I got to be able to tell you. You know? Don't take kindness for weakness all the time. And if you're going to show you're my friend, be my friend. Don't be like my enemy, you know? I still wish you West, though. I wish you the best. So you wish you West. I wish you the best. But let's see if capitalism is systemic. This isn't high school. This is real life.
What is up with us white people? I've been thinking about that a lot the last few years, and I know I have company. Look, I get it. People of color have been asking that question for centuries. But I think a growing number of white folks are too, given what's been going on out there in our country. And notice I said, what's up with us white people? Because right now, I'm not talking about those white people. The ones with the swastikas and the hoods and the tiki torches. They are a problem and a threat. They perpetrate most of the terrorism in our country, as you all in Charlottesville know better than most.
It's a good video, man. Y'all need.
But I'm talking about something bigger, more pervasive. I'm talking about all of us.
What?
White folks writ large. And maybe especially people sort of like me. Self-described, progressive, don't want to be racist, good white people. Right? Any good white people in the room? I was raised to be that sort of person. I was a little kid in the 60s and 70s, and to give you some sense of my parents, actual public opinion polls at the time showed that only a small minority, about 20% of white Americans, approved and supported Martin Luther King and his work with the civil rights movement.
Crazy word.
While Dr. King was still alive.
Crazy.
I'm proud to say my parents were in that group. Race got talked about in our house. And when the shows that dealt with race would come on the television, they would sit us kids down, made sure we watched. The Sidney Poitier movies, Roots. Yep. The message was loud and clear, and I got it. Racism is wrong. Racists are bad people. At the same time, we lived in a very white place in Minnesota, and I'll just speak for myself. I think that allowed me to believe that those white racists on the TV screen were being beamed in from some other place. It wasn't about us, really. I did not feel implicated. Now I would say I'm still in recovery from that early impression. I got into journalism in part because I cared about things like equality, justice. For a long time, racism was just such a puzzle to me. Why is it still with us when it's so clearly wrong? Why such a persistent force?
That's right.
Maybe I was puzzled because I wasn't yet looking in the right place or asking the right questions. Have you noticed that when people in our mostly white media report on what they consider to be racial issues, what we consider to be racial issues, what that usually means is that we're pointing our cameras and our microphones and our gaze at people of color, asking questions like, how are black folks or Native Americans, Latino or Asian Americans, how are they doing?
Why do you think that is? Huh? Why do you think that is? When they ever talk about the topic of racism, they always point their cameras at a certain group. You ain't got to answer that now, but that's something you need to question. The world's a stage, man. All psyops. Tommy comes on here time and time again and describes the type of psychological psyops through media, through the information that you just adhere to or take in. There is another intention behind them. They're rewiring us, guys. A lot of us are wired to be racist, and you think it's you. Again, I always question, are you thinking your own thoughts?
In a given community or with respect to some issue, the economy, education. I've done my share of that kind of journalism over many years. But then George Zimmerman killed Trayvon Martin.
Every week, I get hours back while working less. My secret? An AI tool that plans my schedule perfectly. Focus used to be my biggest challenge. I would sit down to work and spend half my time just figuring out where to start.
Followed by this unending string of high-profile police shootings of unarmed black people, the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement, Dylan Roof and the Charleston Massacre, Oscar So White, all the incidents from the day-to-day of American life, these overtly racist incidents that we now get to see because they're captured on smartphones and sent across the internet. And beneath those visible events, the stubborn data, the studies showing systemic racism in every institution we have, housing segregation, job discrimination, the deeply racialized inequities in our schools and criminal justice system. And what really did it for me, and I know I'm not alone in this either, the rise of Donald Trump and the discovery that a solid majority of white Americans would embrace or at least accept such a raw, bitter kind of white identity politics. This was all disturbing to me as a human being. As a journalist, I found myself turning the lens around, thinking, wow, white folks are the story. Whiteness is a story. And also thinking, can I do that? What would a podcast series about whiteness sound like?
Wow.
And oh, by the way, this could get uncomfortable. I had seen almost no journalism that looked deeply at whiteness, but of course people of color, and especially black intellectuals, have made sharp critiques of white supremacist culture for centuries. And I knew that in the last 2 or 3 decades, scholars had done interesting work looking at race through the frame of whiteness, what it is, how we got it, how it works in the world. I started reading, and I reached out to some leading experts on race and the history of race. One of the first questions I asked was, where did this idea of being a white person come from in the first place?
Great question.
Science is clear. We are one human race.
That's right.
We're all related, all descended from a common ancestor in Africa. Some people walked out of Africa into colder, darker places.
Have y'all ever Googled who started racism? Western Europeans.
Places and lost a lot of their melanin, some of us more than others.
Yes. Talk to them.
But genetically, we are all 99.9% the same. There's more genetic diversity within what we call racial groups than there is between racial groups. There is no gene for whiteness or blackness or Asianness or what have you. So how did this happen? How did we get this thing? How did racism start?
Right. Good question.
I think if you had asked me to speculate on that in my ignorance some years ago, I probably would have said, well, I guess somewhere back in deep history, people encountered one another and they found each other strange. Your skin is a different color, your hair is different, you dress funny. I guess I'll just go ahead and jump to the conclusion that since you're different, that you're somehow less than me, and maybe that makes it okay for me to mistreat you. Right? Is that something like what we imagine or assume? And under that kind of scenario, it's all a big tragic misunderstanding. But it seems that's wrong. First of all, race is a recent invention. It's just a few hundred years old. Before that, yes, people divided themselves by religion, tribal group, language, things like that.
Hey, yo, did I just get, can y'all hear me? It's a TED Talk. Wow. Wow. The TED Talk. The TED Talk. We're watching TED